Let's podcast alongside Joe Giglio. I'm Joe Ovies inside Eford Studios in downtown Raleigh. Thanks to Empire Properties and thanks to Copiers Plus. Check them out online at copiers-plus.com. Print management, document management, planning ahead, like I was trying to do before we hit record on today's podcast. And Giglio is shaking his head like, nah, man, come on. I'm not even going to be here in 2 weeks. I might not even be alive in 2 weeks. So let's just go right now. Let's podcast. But you might think differently as a business. And you got to plan ahead. And our friends over at Copiers Plus can help you with that. We're going to talk a little women's ACC hoops with Mitch Northam, women's college basketball or the women's basketball podcast here as part of OG Triangle Media and, of course, WUNC. But we'll start with the men because it's an interesting weekend in ACC Triangle hoops, Joe. You're making a face. Why are you making a face?
It was interesting for, yeah, okay. I see where you're going now.
Okay.
All right.
You're the one that was raring to go. Let's go. Lock in.
Okay. So on January 21st, I asked, is Duke a monster?
Yeah.
Well, I think we have an emphatic answer.
Yeah.
In the form of a 43-point win over Illinois on Saturday night up in the Garden. That was, what else are we looking for here?
I'm
serious because Illinois is a tournament team. That was like I tweeted before the game. I felt like it was is this Duke's audition for the Big Ten? A standalone game at the Garden on Fox with Gus Johnson on the call. Is this their big audition for the Big Ten to be like, we rule college football now. Mm-hmm. Do we want to rule college basketball too and add Duke and Carolina?
Well, remember, the SEC's running the show now, if you believe the pundits. I mean, we're still having this debate as to whether or not Duke or Auburn is better.
Sure.
Which, fine.
Sure.
I mean, Ken Pom spit out Duke by a considerable point margin in Ken Pom metrics.
Well, right? They played in real life.
And they actually played
in real life.
And I've seen this. I've seen this pop up from our friends at Field of 68 or Eye on College Basketball. Like, I'll hear a stray like, well, Auburn's still the best team in the country. And I'm thinking like, whoa. Metrics wise, no. And head to head, no. But this is where we get into the, actually, ... portion of Duke basketball. Now, I will say,
what actually is it? They were a fucking war machine on Saturday.
Joe?
On a neutral site. Even me, who never gives them credit for winning at home.
Joe, I am actually disappointed in you now. I'm disappointed in you. Last Friday, you were disappointed in me because I had ice on my car.
Right.
Now I'm disappointed in you because you can't see the Duke taking away from wins. Duke doing things that we've seen them do in the past, like roll a team at the Garden. Okay?
43.
Just saying. Now here, before I get started.
It's a different standard.
Hold up. Wait a minute. Hold up. Here's before we get started on this, let me preface this by saying that I have been bullish on Duke all season long.
Correct.
Okay. Let me say,
I was gonna say, this almost feels like a radio bit to me. I don't know
I
don't know what this is.
Let me preface what I'm about to say by also telling you that I've been bullish on John Shire as head coach at Duke.
Oh, this was straight from the K playbook, by the way.
I know, right?
You don't think I'm a monster? 43. How about that? 110.
However, I also subscribe to the Chuck Klosterman advancement theory of sports conversation. And I know how people are. And this might be a byproduct of that. I listen to way too many podcasts. And I am going to, I'm actually just going to go ahead and say that Eye on College Basketball, I was listening to Eye on College Basketball on the way back from Hampton Roads from the Virginia Beach area this weekend. And I could hear it between Matt Norlander and Gary Parrish when they were trying to be like, Illinois was really sick. Matt was talking to, Brad Underwood, he's talking about how they had it coming out both ends, man. Like they're down bad. They're down bad right now. And Gary's talking about how he's sick and I'll say, hey man, I had the flu a couple weeks ago. I get it.
Can we point to the passer real quick on Brad Underwood in our Final Four speed dating that one year?
Yeah.
He was the one guy that we were like, we're going to give you a hard time. And he's like, cool. And he's like, you're about to give me a hard time. I said, it's going to be about the bracket, isn't it? He's like, yeah. I go, well, I can give you some love for Stephen F. Austin first. He's like, nah, let's just get right to it.
Let's get to it, man. Let's get to it. So Underwood was explaining to Norlander or whatever, like, look, not making excuses, but clearly we're going through it right now. Everybody's down bad. So that might explain why Illinois looked the way that they looked on Saturday night at the Garden, which gets to other, well, actually, ... Oh, look at that. Duke balling out at the Garden? I've never seen this before. Typically, when they ball out at the Garden, it's in November or December. And people make a big deal. Like we how many times have we joked about like the Champions Classic being their true national championship?
Yeah.
Their arrival on the scene. Well, this was an out-of-conference game at the Garden, and people are going to like, oh my goodness, put the hammer down, all that kind of stuff. So I can see people well actually that aspect as well. And then, of course, there's the biggest one. The very fact that we're still bringing up Auburn, and I'm not trying to take away from Auburn, but the fact that people are still going, well, I still think Auburn's better. Okay. Head-to-head matchup, metrics-wise, that is incorrect. Now, if they see each other again in the NCAA tournament, we'll get the ultimate answer with that. But the reason why Auburn continues to get the benefit of the doubt is because of things that we know about football. Well, look at the conference. Are you telling me that Duke would have the record that they have if they were playing the SEC right now? This is classic from the college football pundit playbook.
Well, what is Auburn's record in the SEC? Well, that's probably what Duke's would be.
It probably at this point. So I'm just laying the groundwork.
Auburn's 13-1.
I'm laying the groundwork, but the SEC is clearly better than the ACC.
Sure it is, but
okay,
just because it is doesn't mean you can't beat those teams.
But I'm just laying the groundwork for it. It's not a radio bit. I
can't tell what you're doing right now.
What I'm doing right now is I'm letting you know, Duke fan, I'm letting you know, ACC fan, that the well actually ... will happen with this Duke team between now and the NCAA tournament. Despite the fact that they actually look like, you and I both agree, they look like the one who knocks right now. That's what they look like. And
since I asked, they've beaten now Illinois by 43, Stanford by 36,
right,
and Syracuse by 29. And only the Stanford game was at Cameron. Plus, you had the destruction of Carolina, which only ends up being a 17-point win. But we all know
that was a blowout.
Way worse than that.
That was a blowout. Okay. Now that I've gotten the well actually groundwork out of the way, here's what I will tell you, what I would focus on if I'm a Duke fan or if somebody who's trying to talk about Duke a little bit more objectively. Here's what I would focus on. New comp about to drop on you. A couple of weeks ago, you hit him with the Syracuse.
Yeah, I'll stick by that one.
Honestly, the comp, it's the calls coming from within Cameron Indoor. That's 2015 Duke, man. That's what that is. The more this team is coming together, the more driven by freshmen, Tyrese Proctor kind of coming into it. He's not in the 1-for-1 in the Quinn Cook category because Quinn Cook was there for like 10 years or whatever. But Tyrese Proctor has evolved as a role player on this team, knowing what he needs to do, also buying into the defense side of things, right? I'm telling you.
Yeah, it's not the same.
It's a freshman-driven team.
Sure.
With some key pieces around and stashed depth in freshmen. Just like you had Grayson Allen come out of nowhere to help you out, you have an occasional Isaiah Evans show that's going to help you out here too. So these things are kind of there with 2015.
They don't have a player like Justice Winslow. Tyus Jones, the freshman point guard, was the bus driver of that team. And Okafor was a kick it into the post, get a basket when you absolutely need it and always have it.
Duke does not have
that. So structurally, they're different. Structurally, I understand what you're saying. They are coming together.
Mm-hmm.
They are coming together
as a freshman-driven team
at a rate that the 15 team. The 15 team went from January 17th up until the national championship with only losing to one team.
Yeah.
Mike Bray.
Yeah.
So, I hear what you're saying, but structurally they're different. I'll be perfectly honest with you. I don't know how you watch what Duke did on Saturday and not think they are now the odds-on favorite to win the national championship. The national championship is theirs to win.
Mm-hmm.
It's theirs.
Mm-hmm.
If anyone else who knocks them off, it will be an upset. Anyone else.
The other thing I'll say about this Duke team,
and I haven't felt that way about them at any point this season until Saturday.
This is why I felt this way about Duke all season long. In terms of, I want to fast forward to the NCAA tournament because we're not going to get the answer about this Duke team until then, or really even the ACC tournament. I have said from the jump that Cooper Flagg is about the moment. All right, this team seems to be very even keeled throughout. It's all business. I was thinking about this, listening to Matt Norlander on Eye on College Basketball when he was talking about how workmanlike Duke was in a 43-point blowout. They weren't hooting and hollering. They weren't showboating. And as he's saying this, I was thinking of that 22 season in Mike Krzyzewski's final year. And that it was a very, like you'd like to say, a sunny day team.
Yeah.
When they were rolling on Wake Forest,
Duncan and feeling good.
and Mark Williams was doing the on top, and Paolo Banchero was doing his thing, they were a front running team. The minute they got faced with some adversity, all that stuff went out the window. Duke has never shown me that this year. The other thing that Duke hasn't shown me, like, all right, let's get rid of the Coach K years. All right, let's focus on what we've seen out of John Shire so far this year. Well, the makeup of the last couple of years with Cal Filipowski did not have this very killer instinct type look about them. They did not have a very business-like thing. They were a very, I would say, emotional team with Cal Filipowski in the lead. And they forced some things to make Cal Filipowski work. There's nothing forced about this team. Nothing forced about this team. So I give you the well, actually, because I can see where people are going to start trying to poke some holes in the Duke. It's going to be there. It's going to be there for the next month, especially with the SEC love that exists. Or the St. John's love. I mean, they just swept UConn this weekend. That's your team.
Don't you put a pox on my Johnnies.
That's your squad.
What a ticket. So juicy.
Hell of a weekend at Madison Square Garden, I might add.
So juicy.
So that's why I laid the groundwork for the well actually stuff. But I'm here to tell you, throw that shit out the window. Throw the well actually stuff out the window, because that just tells me you haven't really been focused on how this Duke team has been operating all year long with Cooper Flagg running the show and how they've got depth, man. And they're very defensive minded, which again is another thing that I will absolutely take once we get to the NCAA tournament. Every time we talk about the ACC, Joe, it's brought to you by our friends at Keller Williams Commercial, the Donnelly team. Contact them today, trianglencommercial.com, 919-616-8681. I'm serious, by the way. I got to get Jacob's coach in contact with Brian Julie so we can get this little rink going, man.
Yeah, give Coach Shane the number. It's a real thing. You can create your own monster of your own business. If you need a bigger space, the Donnelly team, Keller Williams, trianglencommercial.com.
I can see it right now, OG Arena.
Yeah.
We can even have like a little studio in there too.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, OG Arena accurately talk about what's happening.
I love. So that's where it is. So contact our friends, trianglencommercial.com, or call them directly at 919-616-8681. Now moving on into the well actually mode. Do we well actually with the Tar Heels?
No, I'm riding this small ball wave. I told you, confidence.
Okay.
Give them some credit.
I mean, hey, look,
nothing they do is going to matter. It's like
Jalen Withers on the socials, man.
Yeah.
Whatever it takes. Fire up the Imagine Dragons.
There we go.
Whatever it takes.
Family. I love it.
Go Heels.
I love it, man.
Small
Small ball.
good.
No, they've made an adjustment. They were embarrassed.
Mhm.
They've made an adjustment. And people who are like, oh, it doesn't matter. It's like, no, you just as we've talked about this Duke team building all year long and giving Shire credit. Well, guess what? You can't just snap your fingers and be a Final Four team. Even State didn't do that last year. Like at some point, you have to have confidence. You have to have the knowledge that you can win a basketball game. And Virginia pulled a little bit of their parlor tricks on Saturday to make that score deceptively closer than the game actually was.
Yeah.
But what was it, 23-4?
Yeah.
In the first 4 minutes of that game?
I was listening to the Virginia radio network and they were like embarrassed.
Yeah.
They were embarrassed for Virginia.
The Heels were feeling it. And now tonight they go down to Tallahassee. I suspect they feel it again. They're starting to feel good. And I get it. You want to dismiss, oh, these wins don't matter. This doesn't matter. That, this, that, and the other. Carolina's trying to get into the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
They had to make an adjustment. The adjustment has now been made.
Mm-hmm.
Is Jalen Withers going to shoot 60% from three for the rest of the way? I probably could have sat here on February 24th, 2022 and said, is Brady Manick going to shoot 60% from three the rest of the way? Well, guess what?
He did.
He did. So, as I like to tell you people often, if something good can happen for Carolina, oh, you best believe it will.
Okay. I'm not buying. If you talk about radio bits, if this was a buy or sell segment, I'm still not buying North Carolina.
Buy or sell.
Not doing that.
Smash or pass.
If Tony Reale walked in right now, you buying or selling, Ovies? I'll be like, nah, I'm still selling right now because they haven't beaten anybody of note. They haven't beaten anybody. That's the problem. Who have they beaten?
UCLA. I know. They need to work on that resume. I'm with you.
I'm not talking about the NCAA tournament aspect of this because they can. I'm with you on this. They can can find themselves in the NCAA tournament by not doing anything stupid.
Okay, so now let's go to the flip side.
Okay.
They don't have any dumb losses.
No, I'm
not
with you
a
on that.
single one.
I'm with you on that. They have no dumb losses. But Carolina fans do not operate in the mode of, hey, does my team have any dumb losses to get in the NCAA tournament? Again, I will repeat. That is state brain. That is NC State brain, not Carolina brain.
So they get Duke back at Chapel Hill, and then they go to Charlotte, which is going to be a home game for them. The whole week will be a home game for them.
Yeah.
Down there.
Yeah.
Now, they failed against Florida in the same environment. And that was the game that my brain still hurts from that game.
Yeah.
But I'm just telling you, it's still there for them. It's at least still there for them. But this is what they needed. It couldn't be
being the NCAA tournament.
Correct. It couldn't be what you said. It couldn't be, well, if one game it's Jalen Washington, then another game it's Ian Jackson, then another one is Drake Powell.
Yeah.
Like, I think it needed to be a new identity, a new style, a new way of playing, a new points of emphasis. And I think they have that right now. I get it. It's a 3-game sample set. I understand.
A 3-game sample set against Syracuse, which is a Ken Palm 129, NC State, because NC State shits the bed against Carolina. That's what it is. And a mid-Virginia team. They got a nice win against Pitt. I'll give them that.
Okay, so
at home.
They have Pitt, UCLA, SMU, and Dayton.
In teams that actually look competent, they have not performed well. That's
Correct.
the problem.
They've lost all of the teams, save for Stanford and Wake Forest, that they've lost to are hard in the tournament.
I bring all this up because I think we're having two different conversations when we talk about Carolina. I agree with you. If we're looking at this strictly from the can they make the NCAA tournament? Yes, they can, because they have stuck to my talking points related to the NCAA tournament. They got to fill the field, and they haven't done anything dumb. Okay?
Correct.
They haven't done anything dumb. So,
it was natural seg.
That being said, when they've played good teams, which is where Carolina fans measure themselves, they have not looked good. They got their asses handed to them by Duke and Clemson.
I would invite all Carolina fans to coach a youth league team at some point in their life.
Yeah.
And to realize when you get down and you're getting your doors blown off.
Oh, yeah.
And the team actually fights back, that's almost as rewarding as anything else.
Yeah.
Carolina could have quit on their season after the Clemson game.
Easily.
They could have quit after the Duke game.
Hey.
Okay.
Look, man, I just wrote a team manager email with this exact thing.
Yeah, they could have quit. And I get it. The stakes are higher. Some of the players are getting paid.
But
I understand all of that.
At the end of the day, it's the same.
But yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
What do you do after you get your ass handed to you?
Yeah.
Right? Do you start your own podcast 7 days later? Cool.
Yeah.
Or do you go home and cry?
Yeah.
Or do you both?
Oh, is that?
I mean, maybe.
I'm sorry. Is that Bootstraps energy that I'm hearing from Joe Giglio?
What I'm saying to you
I think that's Bootstraps energy.
They could have gone into a shell and said, "Nah, I'm good." And instead, they haven't.
Yeah.
Now you can sit here and criticize the 3 games or the 3 opponents or whatever the standard. Blah 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 blah. I'm sitting here telling you, I'm giving them credit for trying to solve a problem. That's what Hubert Davis is trying to do right here. I'm giving them credit.
But what if the problem is?
It's fine.
Getting your ass handed to you by Duke.
That's fine.
You see what I'm saying? No, I'm with you on that, man. Because like I said, I literally just wrote a manager email about how the season has gone for the kids.
Sure.
And yeah, man, they've had their. I mean, I'm not gonna paint a rosy picture here. They got their ass handed to them a couple times this season. All right, but they bounced back. All right, and they had a really good weekend. We were up in Hampton Roads, and they had a good weekend. Close it out with a win. Awesome. They split the weekend. Awesome. And it just shows, like, if you take anything from the last couple weekends, this team is not. These kids have not quit. That is development. That is character. I'm not questioning Carolina's character. I'm not questioning.
I mean, I would be after the Clemson game.
No. Look, man, sometimes you just get your ass handed to you, man. It happens. It just happens. So that's not what I'm talking about with Carolina, though. When we're talking about Carolina, we're talking about a real simple thing. Can you hang? Are you a national title contender? That kind of stuff. And I keep telling you, dude, you got state brain.
No, I don't. Carolina. You want to know who else is going through it, by the way?
Who's that?
I saw a stat over the weekend. Since winning the national championship, the program that Carolina second most wants to be.
Yeah.
By the way, Duke hasn't won the national title since 2015, so I'm really not so sure why you're so hung up on Duke. Kansas, the team that beat them for the national championship in 2022,
they're going through it.
You know what their record is in their last 35 Big 12 games?
Yeah,
18-17.
Yeah, not hot. It's not hot.
Are you kidding?
It's not hot. Yeah.
So I'm just trying to tell you. Yeah. College basketball is a year.
There it is.
It's a year.
There it is. Everybody drink.
Proposition.
Everybody drink.
and everyone has to go through it.
Now, I'll say this to close the last, well, actually, since I guess that's what the segment is. Well, actually, ...
But you had to sprain your brain to come up with a well, actually, for a 43-point win, man.
Nah, I don't think it was that hard. You know what is hard, though? Wake Forest. Guys.
My Deeks.
Guys. It's right there.
I think it was Nate who pointed out, they didn't get into trouble until you started calling them your Deeks again. And I was like,
maybe it's a you problem. So here's the thing about Wake Forest. Guys, come on. I'm trying not to curse. Make the damn tournament, man. Steve.
I know.
It's there. It's there. And like losing like they did to Florida State. I mean, we talked about
collapse.
This. We talked about it with Steve Forbes last week. And I think listening back to it, we were not picking on it, but it really was like, hey man, like what's that mentality? How bounce back from that? But they did. They did
against SMU.
And then here's a state team that's like licking its wounds and going nowhere and all this other stuff. How? State was there on a platter for you on the road, right there for you. And State pretty much controlled that game throughout.
Dontrez Styles, apparently, when it's not Carolina,
locked in,
is like
locked in, right?
Are we playing a team from the state of North Carolina? That's not North Carolina.
So the final, well, actually, here it comes to NC State, and we've all been now. They're not going to make the ACC tournament. They're not going to make the ACC tournament. Well, actually, ... It's not off the table. It's not off the table.
Yeah, you're right. They're only a game behind. Syracuse is the one because remember they got swept by Cal.
Yes.
And they do play Syracuse this week.
Yes.
But
it's not off the table.
It's up there. Syracuse might be in the tank as well.
Yeah.
Syracuse has State, VT, SMU, and Virginia.
Yeah.
State has Syracuse, GT on the road where they Pitt here and then Miami there.
Your ACC rankings right now, NC State's 4-12. They're atop the pile of the teams that are not going to make the ACC tournament.
Yes.
Right? So it's NC State, Boston College, Miami. We don't have to discuss Miami, although Miami is on NC State's schedule.
Correct.
Okay. So they're 4-12. Syracuse is 5-11. Cal is 5-11. And it's not like Virginia
but Cal swept State. So
I get that. But there are situations where they can lose out. I'm just saying.
Let's see.
I'm just saying.
They have lost 4 in a row. Well, they get SMU, BC, BC there. But they could lose out because it's SMU, BC, Louisville, Notre Dame.
Well, actually, ... NC State still has a chance. And if you thought last year was a miracle, Kevin Keats, I see you. I see what's happening. Okay. Kevin Keats is about to, if you thought going from Tuesday to Saturday in the ACC tournament was an incredible run, just wait till I pull this thing from the brink of missing the ACC tournament to get it on a Tuesday, then win it again. Okay, that might have been a bit much. That was a bit much, but you see where I'm going here.
Housekeeping. Never again will we see a team celebrate making the ACC tournament if NC State pulls this off.
Oh my goodness. Anyway, housekeeping brought to you by Enovana. Check them out online, enovana.com. Green cleaning solutions.
If you have mess inside your mansion or trash in your cabana, get it clean with Enovana.
Ladies and gentlemen, the OG Hat Vault closes tomorrow. So here's what you do. You go into the podcast summary or the YouTube summary. You'll see the link to the OG Hat Vault. If you use a podcast platform that doesn't support hyperlinks, just copy paste it, put it in your browser, and you're good to go. What boomer energy is this? Now,
I wouldn't know how to do that.
Like I said, what boomer energy is this? So you don't know how to do that. Copy and paste it into your browser. Regardless, it's there. Click it. Buy the hats. We got 2 styles of trucker hats and we got a dad hat. All thanks to our friends at Base 6.
They're moving well, I hear.
They are actually.
Yeah.
We've moved some hats.
I mean, we're doing a radio bit kind of day, so you might as well be it what? going fast. There's only a limited number left.
Well,
Right now, log on 919-444-2211.
No. You've got the bit wrong. It's the Disney Vault. It's not that they're going fast, limited quantities, order now. It's more like, hey, once these hat designs go back into the vault, they're never coming back until we need more money.
Boo.
Yeah, and that's like that. Or do you want to make it like
If you call right now,
do you want
you
like,
can get 3 hats for the price of 2.
You want like an ACC network, like this product has been discontinued, so you better get this drill bit right now. You've seen the drill bit, right?
Can you come up with a flashing logo?
Order now from Bulbhead. No, but
I understand that you can't. This is not a hyperlink, but if you copy and paste it and go from your phone to your computer, yeah,
you've seen the drill.
You got to make shit easy, man. Come on.
You've seen the drill bit, right? Like there's this drill bit
Not
on
to
the
be
AC,
confused with the radio bit.
and not to be confused with the Irish potato peeler. Okay,
Arthritis. I got the right zip on for the arthritis.
so it's like this big thing, like, because the factory shut down, there's only a limited amount, so get them today, because once it's gone, they're gone. And I was like, ooh, that's very smart. So maybe that's what we should do for the next hat.
Supply chain. They're sitting in a warehouse
Instead of
in DC.
yeah. So instead of going back into the vault, we say, hey man, the machine broke and they're never going to make this hat again. So get after it. Anyway, OG Hat Vault closes tomorrow. So get on it. In the meantime, follow us on YouTube. Give us 5 stars, 5 stars only, positive vibes only. Leave a review. All those things help out with the algorithm. You know what's going to help you out with saving money on your home and auto? Our friend Matt Davis over at State Farm. Contact him today, insuregarner.com, theoginsurance.com, or call him directly at 919-779-8277. You will save money that you can buy more hats from the OG Hat Vault. Thanks to our friend, Matt Davis. Giglio is rocking a brand new rowback today. If you would like to get this Miami Hurricanes inspired quarter zip, the U.
Oh, it's Ireland. It's for St. Patrick's Day.
No, buddy, that's Miami.
The U.
Go to rowback.com. Use that promo code OG20 to save 20% off your order. So that's for St. Patrick's Day.
Yes, I actually got this one too because I know a lot of the ones that I get have like crazy patterns on them.
Yeah.
And crazy patterns aren't for everybody,
They're
but
not.
they actually have classic style quarter zips. So this is one of them. Get to it.
I love it. Big thanks to our friends at Mosquito Authority and Pest Authority. Bugsbite.com is the website. I was told I need a moisture barrier.
You do.
Guess who's going to call to get one?
Oh, nice.
This guy
Nice.
over at Mosquito Authority, Pest Authority. Bugsbite.com is the website. It's not too late, or it's not too early to start thinking about mosquitoes, by the way. I know we just got snow last week.
That's
and everything
also
else.
a real thing. Yeah.
This is spring's right around the corner. It's going to start warming up. Next thing you know, the bugs are going to be bothering you in the patio. Go to bugsbite.com and get a handle on that right now. And speaking of things like moisture barriers, and when I was told about this because of my HVAC system, our friends at 1-800-PLUMBER can also help you out with these matters. 1-800-PLUMBER.com is the website. 1-800-PLUMBER, the name is the number you dial. It's very, very simple. So contact them today for any sort of HVAC system needs. Obviously, plumbing as well. Plumbing is not something that you or I want to handle. Get a professional for these types of things.
This is not something to watch on YouTube, although we
No.
have. You want to do the hot and cold? Are we radioing it up?
I
or-
tell you what, I'm gonna rebuild this toilet. No, you're not.
No, trust
you're,
me.
No, you're not.
Trust me. This
No, you're
stupid
not.
thing just keeps leaking, and then all of a sudden you're like, "Why is it still leaking?" It's
The-
because you don't know jack shit about plumbing.
The
The
minute-
1-800-PLUMBER does.
The minute you see that O-ring in your toilet, you don't want to touch that ever again. And you go, wow, I did that? Yeah, you did that. So have 1-800-PLUMBER and Air handle those types of things for you. Yes, let's do our hot and cold. What is your hot of the weekend? I have a cold, but what's your hot of the weekend?
I was going to say let's do the cold because Oklahoma. You know, I've been told that the kids don't care anymore.
Yeah.
I've been told that just today's players, they get paid and that's it. That's all that matters. I present to you Oklahoma.
Has at the other end. Look at this, the dive. Oh,
Wait, are those
Duke Miles.
those teeth? Yeah, those teeth.
Yeah.
Goodness.
That was the face plant.
Yeah, players don't care anymore.
Back in my day,
Oh.
basketball was so hard. Back in my day, we played for the name on the front of the jersey.
Back in my day, go back because look at the score of that game.
Yeah,
Oklahoma's going nowhere, dude.
yeah,
Nowhere.
yeah.
And this guy's out here sacrificing teeth for a loose ball. So please tell me again how great the previous generation was and how lazy and stupid this one is.
My takeaway from that was one of the medical staff just picking up teeth without gloves.
No, they had them.
No, one guy was just picking up teeth without gloves.
Was he raw dogging the teeth?
He was raw dogging the teeth, man.
But
that's what happens. So that's your cold?
That's my cold. Poor Duke Miles losing them teeth.
Yeah.
Diving for a loose ball in a meaningless basketball game.
I
take it back. Actually, Oklahoma will make the NCAA tournament.
My hot goes to the hottest takes that I heard last week related to the Four Nations tournament and the NBA All-Star game. PK Subban went viral last week with like the hottest of hot takes.
You don't understand. You don't understand that every time you get on the ice, you sacrifice. When you make millions, you don't care.
Speaking of not caring. Yeah.
Why do we got to turn this into like the Four Nations tournament was a good idea. As we talked about last week, political ramifications helped out, adding a little sizzle to it. So if we can create some political ramifications between a one-on-one basketball all-star type situation, then maybe we can get some of that sizzle too. But we don't have to make this like some sort of, our culture's better than your culture. Because then things start getting really problematic when we start talking about those things. Joining us on the Heister Automotive Group hotline, the women's basketball podcast here on OG Media and WUNC. He is Mitch Northam. Mitch, what's going on, man?
Not much. Got to see the game of the year yesterday.
Yeah, so
you and Magic Johnson.
Yeah.
Notre Dame.
He was not sitting courtside with Aaron Beard and me, but I was aware that he apparently enjoyed Isaiah James's behind the back layup in double OT, which made Beard and I both yelp on the sideline.
All right, so let's kind of highlight the ramifications of yesterday's game at Reynolds against the top team, Notre Dame, for NC State. Obviously you don't want to lose to Carolina, and we get that the ACC is competitive, but I just felt like this was. Is it not validation, but it's almost like, hey, man, Wes Moore really has this thing cooking at NC State. And while the league is competitive, they're finding, NC State specifically is finding ways to get up off the mat, have games like this, get it done, and just continue to build as they go back into March.
Yeah, I think for me, it said more about what NC State is more than what Notre Dame isn't. I still... deep in my bones, deep in my plums, think that Notre Dame is the best team in the country. I voted them number one in the AP Bowl again, just because I look at the entire body of work. And I just look at yesterday and NC State had to have a lot of things go their way to beat Notre Dame in double overtime. That said, I think that yesterday's game showed me that NC State actually is capable of making another run in March. And they are capable of beating the best teams in the country. And they are capable of maybe getting back to the Final Four again and maybe winning the ACC tournament title in Greensboro. I think coming into the season and all year long, we knew that they had these two really good guards in Sinai Rivers and Isaiah James. Now Zoe Brooks has risen to this other level and stepped up in a huge way yesterday. 33 points, 10 rebounds, perfect from the free throw line when they needed them the most, 14-14. But then also, the concern coming into the season, and then, frankly, for the first 2 months as well, was okay, what are they going to do in the front court? Who replaces River Baldwin and Mimi Collins? And Tilda Trigger is the answer. And Tilda Trigger, I wrote in my story yesterday at SB Nation. Since she's become a starter in early January, NC State, I think, has only lost one game. They're 13-2 when she's in the starting lineup. When she has 2 or more blocks in a game, NC State is 6-0. When she scores at least 9 points, they're 7-1. Yesterday, against a really good front court, Lisa Carlin for Notre Dame, she was a all Big East player last year at Marquette. Maddie Westbeld is an all ACC player. They couldn't do anything against Tilda Trigger, who's 6'6" and shot 8 and 9 from the floor, 19 points, 9 rebounds, played 42 minutes, into double OT, and looks like the answer in the front court. And when you have a player like her in women's college basketball, I think as evidenced by, you look at the last couple national title winners, and South Carolina had Camille Cardozo, really good center. LSU had Angel Reese, really good rebounder, really good, in the front court there. It can earn you a lot of things and help you win games in different ways. So, I just think all the pieces are kind of coming together for them. That loss to North Carolina was a game where they lost by 1 point and they missed 8 free throws. It just didn't go their way that day. But the ACC is kind of a league where anybody can get got.
Right.
So for me yesterday, it was validation of, NC State is capable of running this thing back the way that they did last year.
One real quick thing about the ACC, it's like Notre Dame looked like they were going to be cruising to atop the regular season, but with that loss, it kind of does open up the door for a couple of things. It opens up the door for NC State to actually finish atop the league. I mean, obviously they got to win out, and Notre Dame's got to lose again. But also there's NCAA tournament seeding implications for a win like that too. I don't know if NC State's got enough to jump to a 1 seed, but I would imagine a win like that absolutely secures a 2 seed and to host a game. So that's got to be that's another implication from this win too.
Yeah, I think NC State's regular season finish is pretty soft. They play Wake Forest and SMU. Those are 2 circle wins that they should have no problem winning by double figures. Notre Dame has a kind of a tough finish. They play Louisville and Florida State, who should be NCAA tournament teams, but they play them at home. So there's a possibility, I think, that you might have a co-ACC champ situation with the Wolfpack and the Irish. But at this point, I think if NC State, let's say they went out in the regular season, let's say they at least get to the title game in Greensboro. If a couple of teams in different conferences lose, I think that puts them in a good position to, maybe get that 4th 1 seed, or at least definitely lock in a 2. I think that is possible this year. And the other thing is when I'm thinking about the bracket and stuff, if I'm NC State, there's really not a team that I'm scared of anymore. Now that you've beaten Notre Dame, I think that South Carolina is a different team than what NC State faced last year in the Final Four, and even what they faced in Charlotte in November. There is no Camila Cardozo. There is no Ashlyn Watkins. The guard play has been a little bit inconsistent. I think if those two met on a neutral court again, I might pick NC State. I just think that they're humming at a pretty good level right now. So, bracket luck is a real thing, and we'll see kind of what that shakes out to be. But, if I'm NC State, I feel pretty good about where I sit.
I just did a Google search for the regional rounds, or that's 2 sites, right, Mitch? One of them is not Bridgeport, Connecticut.
No, they're in Birmingham, Alabama, and Spokane, Washington.
Oh, perfect. So as you said, there's a team they don't want to see, and I know Beckers is still out there stroking away. So I don't want to see her. I promise you that. I don't want to see Gino either. But as long as it's not Bridgeport.
Birmingham, I think, is a true neutral court for NC State and UConn. I think Spokane, you could also make the same argument. Nowhere in the northeastern United States. And the Final Four is in Tampa.
Oh, even better. Even better.
I've said this to you before. I'll say it again. As much as I think yesterday helped it, because game day was there. I know it's a new phenomenon on the women's side to have the game day set up. That was great. Reynolds, I saw the intro. That was a really cool. You might have missed it, but that was really cool how they set that up. Notre Dame, obviously the number 1 team in the country. I think Wes Moore has done so much at NC State. First by winning the ACC, which even that gets overlooked now that he won it 3 years in a row. I've just felt like last year he got overshadowed by the men's trip to the Final Four. I would love to see them get back this year for him to kind of get the recognition that maybe he didn't get last year. This is a topic that may only you could speed run this one for me, but Notre Dame was a long time national power. Mm-hmm. Their legendary coach retired. Mm-hmm. And now here they are, number 1 again. I was kind of curious, how did Notre Dame get this thing cooked back up so quickly?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was, Muffet McGraw's last season, which was 1920, was very not good. They were coming off of a national championship appearance where they lost by, I think it was a single point. It was definitely a possession to Baylor in Tampa. That was 2019. And that was the team that had Enrique Gumbawale and Brianna Turner and a Mabry and the whole thing. She comes back in 1920, just has a really young and not good team, and they weren't going to make the tournament if COVID did not happen that year. They got bounced in the ACC tournament by Lance White's Pitt, which also not a very good team. So COVID happens, Muffet retires immediately, like the same day that she retires, they hire Neil Ivey. I think she was just pegged the whole time to be Muffet's successor. And yeah, basically she just, a combination of her and Muffet had a really good, couple recruiting classes together, the Miles and the Westbelds and the Hannah Hidalgo. And, they just kind of pieced it all back together. And since, I think they missed the tournament in Ivey's first season, which would have been the year that Miles came early and basically played in the ACC tournament as a 17-year-old. Since then, they've been in at least the Sweet 16 every season. And yeah, they've gotten a couple transfers along the way, but mostly it's been getting really good high school recruits and retaining them. The couple of players that I just mentioned, Miles Hidalgo, Maddie Westbeld, all high school recruits. Now, Leah King is from Pitt, Lisa Carlin from Marquette. So it's a combination of the two, but yeah, they've got it up right back to a high level again. I think the centerpiece of all that has been those two guards that I mentioned, Sonia Citron, a third guard high school recruit that they've retained. Miles and Citron are probably both going to be top 5 picks in the WNBA draft this year. So yeah, that's the way that they've done it, which has kind of been a little bit different than some other teams in terms of combing the transfer portal.
So they hired a former player who helped them win a national championship.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're getting really good recruits at a traditional powerhouse and have a chance to win the national championship.
Yep.
Has anyone else thought of that?
Sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Sydney Lowe?
Close.
Oh.
Hubert Davis.
Oh.
Close.
Oh. Sorry. I was confused there for a second.
Yeah.
There he is.
Oh, John Shire. Yeah.
Oh, I knew. It was on the tip of my tongue. It was on the tip of my tongue.
And in between, being an assistant for Muffet and then taking the head job, Ivy actually coached in the NBA with the Memphis Grizzlies. So she had a little gap there where she kind of went outside the family home and learned, some different tricks.
So we were talking about Duke and Carolina on the men's side of things. And Carolina fans are still in the mode of I don't know. We'll see what happens against Duke, right? But we got to do Carolina matchup on Thursday.
We do.
So I know the Tar Heels. They were at Louisville this past weekend, and again, I almost feel like Duke somewhat goes under the radar with what's going on over at NC State, and obviously with the State Carolina game getting the heat. So what can we expect on Thursday between these two?
Man, so the first time they met this season was, I said yesterday, was the best women's basketball game I've seen this season.
Yeah.
Duke Carolina chapter 1 was the worst. It was just ugly. It was a rock fight. It was, both teams missing a lot of shots, missing a lot of layups, lots of turnovers. That game went to OT and finished in the 50s, just to give you an idea of how ugly that game was.
I remember.
Yeah. I hope it's not that bad again. Carolina's really come along strong too. I think they're a lock to host first round tournament games. I think Duke is in a good position to still do that as well. We got the second top 16 reveal coming out on Thursday night right before they tip off. Carolina is the only team left in the country who has not lost on the road this year, which I think is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
They're playing good basketball. They won at Louisville. Louisville just beat Duke at Duke. And Carolina won that game without Alyssa Utsby, who's been out for basically the past 3 games with a undisclosed lower body injury type. Courtney Bankhart says that we're going to see her play again this season. I think they're just being kind of extra cautious because they really want to have her, in March when things are super important. But it should be a fun game. It's in Cameron. I would pick Carolina to win. I just think they're the better team right now. But we'll see. Kara Lawson, sometimes has some tricks up her sleeve. So
Mitch Northam, check out the Women's Basketball Podcast here on our YouTube channel and our podcast network. Of course, you can check them out at WUNC and at SB Nation as well. Mitch, we appreciate it, man. We'll talk to you later.
Appreciate it.
We are in prime basketball mode right now, and a lot of great basketball merch is available with our friends at Homefield. Go to homefieldapparel.com. Use that promo code OG24. They just announced, they got deals all the time. I saw where they had like get a hat and then get a pennant to go along with it. But they got Speed Week coming around here soon with some like cool like Jeff Gordon stuff, some cool Indy 500 stuff, since they are an Indiana-based company. So be on the lookout for that. But in the meantime, you can get any of those hoodies that you see on the YouTube. They got great hats, t-shirts, all that kind of fun stuff. The sweatpants, I might add, are fantastic. So throw those in there as well. And when you do, use that promo code OG24. If you haven't used it yet, you will save 15% off your order. The money you save, you can go to our friends at Two Roosters. I feel like Two Roosters needs to come up with like some new kind of promotion and not be so worried about NC State men's road wins and just start going in on all the NC State women's wins at this point. That's what we need from Two Roosters.
All right, I know I really shouldn't promote this, but it ties into what they do because it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
The Secret Pine of the Month Club. What is your favorite Girl Scout cookie?
It's the peanut butter one.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Most people would say
Thin Mint or
the cookie formerly known as the Samoa.
The Samoa, right.
Caramel, chocolate, coconut.
Yeah.
The Secret Pine of the Month this month was the Samoa in vanilla ice cream. I'm talking whole cookies.
Nice.
Just thrown in there. And I was like, Jared, you genius.
You did it again.
You got me again. Just when I thought it was safe, pulls me back in. Secret Pint of the Month Club. Do yourself a favor. It's not so secret.
Check out tworoosters.com. Find out more about their rotating flavors and everything else. And with all the Two Roosters that you're eating with the Secret Pint of the Month Club and everything else, you might need to burn that off. So it's time to go to O2 Fitness. O2fitnessclubs.com is the website.
O2 Fitness, so much more than a gym.
Don't what?
Don't be fat like Giglio.
Okay. So, pro tip. You just ate a whole pint in one sitting. You know what you need to do? Go to O2 Fitness Clubs right after that. Now, look, there are some things that are within your control. You know, like with weight loss. There are some things that are within your control. If you are indulging all the time, well, guess what? You're not going to lose weight. But let's say you are doing your best. Like you allow yourself a cheat day, like you get to enjoy Two Roosters and that kind of stuff. There's nothing wrong with that. But you still find yourself eating right, trying to exercise, but you still have a hard time losing weight. Well, that happens when you get older, straight up. So our friends at O2 Fitness have partnered with Thrive locally. And you can go to livethrive.co and you can do online telehealth to learn about things like oral testosterone treatments and weight loss. The testosterone, look, you get older, you get in your 40s, it naturally starts to drop off. There are treatments for that help you get energy, work out, get the gains, things like that. And also with weight loss as well. So livethrive.co is the website. Just go through their process. It's very, very simple. I know you might have heard of similar things, but you're going to get more from Thrive than you are from, wait for it. Thems. So there you go. O2fitnessclubs.com. Also, our friends at Whitaker and Hamer. Check them out online at wh.lawyer. Attorneys and counselors at law. They can help you out with all sorts of legal needs, personal legal needs, business needs. Trying to divide what happens when I have to play the Fox injury music, when Giglio's casket goes in the ground. Like, how's that affect me? Like all those things.
You would need legal help.
I would need legal help with that. And I hit him up. But first the Fox injury music plays. And then I'm like, hey, by the way, I got some news.
Just so you know.
So those are the types of things that happen. So wh.lawyer is the website. Our friends over at Whitaker and Hamer, attorneys and counselors at law.
You get the Fox injury music. I want you to play Eddie Vedder's I Just Want to Scream. Right. Hello.
That's what you get. You will also have it catered by Sam Jones. Check out Sam Jones. They can do your catering needs. We got tournament right around the corner, man.
Here we go.
You might need something in your office. You might be just hosting something, breaking the AV card out. I said that just to trigger Hayes. So what you do is you kick it old school. with some barbecue to watch some ACC hoops. So
Who says
Sam
no?
Jones. Who's going to say no to that, man? Who's going to say no to that? So big
Mac
thanks to our
and
friends.
cheese, potato chips,
At Sam Jones.
beans. Great sides, man.
Hey, was Mikko Rantanen traded again?
I think he was.
Is that what's happening right now?
I mean, heat it up, baby.
Look, man, Canes are back in action. Not a great showing on David Ayers Day. 5 years to the day. They were up in Toronto, and they probably could have used David Ayers early on since Kochetkov decided, goalie is voodoo.
Well, I'm laughing. I didn't even realize it was the anniversary.
Literally
but
5
I'm
years
also laughing
on Saturday.
now that we've seen the Four Nations tournament, everyone's like, wow, Jacob Slavin's so good. It's like, yeah, guys.
Yeah.
He's so fucking good that they won a game with a Zamboni driver in net. That's how good he is. Okay.
But is he so good that he can carry Brent Burns around? That's the question that Canes fans seem to be asking. But before we get to that, it's the Mikko Rantanen show, right? So ever since that trade, and everybody, oh my goodness, I can't believe the Canes have been doing this. Within like 48 hours, and with the contract talk, it then became they could flip him as a rental. And this seems to have picked up steam coming out of the Four Nations that everybody's getting back into like normal hockey mode. This is from Kevin Weeks. I'm sorry. I'll get to Kevin Weeks in a second. This is actually from, where did it go?
This is Elliot Friedman.
Where's my, here it is. Here's my, I'm trying to pull up the right social media post here. So yeah, this is Elliot Friedman, Sportsnet from Saturday, talking about Mikko Rantanen, the Canes contracts and rental trades.
All right. So after that, you spend a bit more time seeing what else comes loose. And this is the best update I can give everybody on Rantanen, who is potentially the biggest name heading into the trade deadline. So I understand that during the Four Nations break, the Hurricanes met with his representatives face to face. They had a face-to-face conversation about where things were and where they were going. And the Hurricanes made an offer. And I believe that offer is into the 9 digits. So it's a big, big offer. And Rantanen at this point in time has said, not yes, not no. He's just said, I still need to process everything that's happened, the whirlwind, the emotion. So at this point in time, there's no answer from Rantanen, but I stress everybody's telling me you shouldn't necessarily take that one way or the other. What has happened is teams are kind of waiting. There's a lot of talk out there, Ron, but if Rantanen's available at some point, you want to make sure you have your best assets to make a trade. And the other thing that someone said to me, I should have spelled out, but didn't, is that if the Hurricanes are confident that they can still sign Rantanen after March the 7th, will they keep him and make a Stanley Cup run with him? So all of that is there, but they have made a big offer to Rantanen, and he has just said, look, I still need to process everything.
Okay, so that's Elliot Friedman. Here's Kevin Weeks.
So that's what we call in the business a non-update update.
I love it. And I have a theory about that, but let's go ahead to the Kevin Weeks portion. This was on ESPN via Reddit.
Speaking of 3-team deals, Mikko Rantanen involving the Blackhawks, in fact, we've heard a lot. There is a lot out there. What should we be listening to?
Well, there's a lot out there for sure. And speaking of people involved in the process, I know for a fact that the Carolina Hurricanes learned from last year when they acquired Jake Gensel, who was the belle of the ball at the trade deadline. And this time around, they made huge waves by acquiring Rantanen. Now, Eric Tulsky and their general manager, and of course their owner, Tom Dunnan, they learned. They said, hey, we're going to come with our best offer. We're coming with an aggressive offer. I'm told that number is north of $13 million, in and around between the $13 and $14 million number. And listen, it's tough right now. And I'll say this, Arda, quickly. It's been a lot for him. It's been a short time for him to get there, get acclimated, then feel comfortable, then sign a contract extension. There's a lot that's been going on. Something not dissimilar to what happened to Rod Brind'Amour, the head coach, when he got traded from Philadelphia to Carolina. It takes some time to get acclimated, but I really think that the two sides are going to continue hammering away. Let's see if they can find an area that they both believe is fair.
Now, where do you think Kevin Weeks got that anecdote about when Rod Brind'Amour was traded to the Carolina Hurricanes and they wanted to extend him? It took him some time to process everything. Where do you think Weeks got that anecdote from?
I don't know. Rack my brain.
Who could it be? Who could it be?
I mean, I think you got to talk about something, right? And I get it. I do not think the Canes would flip him, even if he doesn't sign, because as we learned, there is a value in cap space.
Yes.
So just because you would lose him, just like last year, they lost Gensel.
Yes.
That didn't mean they were handicapped forever.
Yes.
It turned into an asset. Their plan, as Eric Tulsky has said on this program, our plan is to negotiate with him, make him the offer that at least he was rumored to be asking for from Colorado.
And the only
14.
By the way, the only team who can make that offer, by the way.
14, right? I mean, that's not a stumbling block. This is not a cap pressure situation. The Canes have the space, they have the money.
Yes.
The question simply becomes, and it's one that no one can answer.
Mm-hmm.
You're Mikko Rantanen. You've played your whole life under one deal. Do you want to get to the market and see other options? When that happens, you see, sometimes you go, oh, I'm going to sign in Florida because of the state tax. I'm going to go play. My wife's from Chicago or whatever it is.
Right.
You don't know the answers to these things.
Yeah.
And the Hurricanes can't sit there every day like my SMU ScarJo sex offer. Like, they can't sit there every day and be like, hey, are you going to sign today? Hey, just checking. Are you going to sign today? Hey, ScarJo, is today the day I get the free sex? Is today the day?
Yeah.
Wait. You can't do that.
Yeah.
It's not real.
Yeah. Couple things. 8 years, $14 million is insane. But that's just
it's the price of poker.
It's the price of poker. Okay. And it's also insane from having observed the Carolina Hurricanes for 20 some odd years that they would be the ones that are going to do something like that. But again, different ownership, different thought process, everything else. Barring a sign and trade, which is a possibility, I guess. Barring a sign and trade, this is a story out of nothing because there's not a lot going on leading into the trade deadline. Now, why is there not a lot going on leading into the trade deadline? Because the Carolina Hurricanes just broke it. That's why. So now, what usually is a news cycle with the deadline's in 2 weeks, right? It's March 6th. So usually this is the time of the year where everybody's all ramping up and what's going to happen. And there will be no deal as big as what we just had a few weeks ago with Mikko Rantanen. So how do you massage it? Well, let's start getting really granular. Well, his minutes aren't the same with the Hurricanes. His production's not the same with the Hurricanes so far. Never mind, he literally just got there. He has to process what happens, and then they just took a break.
And the whole team was sick for like 2 of the 3 games that he played with them.
Yes, and they just took a freaking break for the 4 Nations. Okay, so there's all sorts of stuff going on.
And he was hurt.
Right. So there's all sorts of stuff going on, right? So that's where I think this whole rental trade deadline stuff, and so like the non-update from Elliot Friedman kind of cracked me up with the whole like, well, they could keep him to try and make a Stanley Cup run. What do we know about this Hurricanes team? The window never closes. So why would they? Oh, well, you don't want to sign here? Man. They don't want to sign here. Fine, we're going to get rid of you.
Cut him.
What? Like, all right, cool. We know where you stand. Now let's go win the damn thing.
Right.
And off we go, right? But back to the deal itself. Take aside from the fact that that's an insane contract offer that I'm still processing from a Carolina Hurricanes perspective. I think what's happening here is the Canes have made it abundantly clear. What you want, we have. So it's up to you if you want to be here.
Do you like it here? Are you comfortable here? Does our style suit your style? All those things.
And if the answer is no, so be it.
Right.
Do not fault the Canes. Do not fault Dundon. Do not fault Rod. Do not fault Tusky. Do not fault Mikko Rantanen. It's just like, hey, man, cool.
It's kind of like Gensel last year. When you're this close to your freedom and getting to the market.
Gensel's different. Gensel was different in that I'm convinced that the Gensel situation was Tom Dundon negotiation tactics bit them in the ass. It's different with Mikko Rantanen.
The premise remains the same. When you're that close to your freedom,
you
have to overwhelm someone.
Okay.
Now, 14 would be overwhelming.
That's over.
To your point, they didn't even get to the 8 until like the last minute with Gensel. But
that's
when
what
you're
kind of
that,
set the thing.
Gensel also was the opposite. He got here and immediately produced.
Yeah.
And then, of course, they broke up that line in the playoffs. I still don't understand why. But
that's another story.
Here we are.
That's another story altogether.
To get to lightning round. A lot to get to lightning round.
Wait, Fayetteville Street. Eddie, come on down.
Eddie, come on, hang out, man. We are kind of taking like a weird pseudo hockey break here. Alexander Ovechkin had a hat trick over the weekend. That puts him just 13 goals shy of breaking Wayne Gretzky's NHL record of 894 goals.
Okay.
I think it's going to happen.
Now here's the real question. Is it going to happen in Raleigh?
And it has to happen from the office. His spot.
Yeah.
It always has to happen from his spot, right? When did they play? When's that game?
Looking it up as we speak.
Okay.
They have so many games. They play April 2nd. They're here. Washington. I believe I have that game on my AP schedule.
Then yes, because that means you'll actually have to work that day.
No, I'm going to tell you. If Brian Murphy was freelancing for AP, Brian Murphy is the Forrest Gump of everything in sports that's ever happened. It would absolutely happen on April 2nd. Me, I don't get to cover anything interesting ever.
What are you talking about?
Compared to Murph.
Oh, okay. If we're doing a 1-for-1 with Murph, then no. The answer is no. But
April 2nd, they're here.
Okay. And you're working AP.
I am.
All right. Then based on your theory, it won't happen then.
Correct.
Because, well, no, you had to do the thing with Mikko Rantanen, did you not?
Yeah, but there was nothing comparative. Yeah.
Okay.
Like this would actually, like, I'd have to do some homework.
Like for real?
Like,
okay.
Come on.
I am wondering, so this is one of those things where, we like numbers, we like records. Everybody recognizes that Wayne Gretzky is the great one. I mean, that's just a household name. And I get that media is fractured at this point, but I do think it's interesting that Ovechkin's run to Gretzky's goal record has been very under the radar. And I don't know if now that we're coming out of the Four Nations, that we're actually getting closer to it, that people are going to start taking it more seriously. Or is it just a classic case of, well, it's the Russian guy. We know who Alexander Ovechkin is, but we don't necessarily put our arms around foreign players in that situation. And let's just strip any potential politics out of it. I'm simply like we said with Four Nations, right? Because Russia was not involved with Four Nations.
Sure.
Just strip all that stuff out of it. When the Caps won the Cup, Ovechkin became kind of like a meme.
He was drunk for the whole year.
He was drunk the whole time.
Yeah.
And as Americans, how could you not respect that? Like, you see that, like, oh, I can hang with that guy. Let's go, man. Right? So I do wonder if we're finally going to get the uptick in the, oh shit, this is actually going to happen, or it's potentially going to happen. And how do we process this with Alexander Ovechkin?
What a machine.
This is an absolute machine, man.
I mean,
so was it 7-2 over the weekend? But yeah, with the hat trick and everything. Unreal. Absolutely unreal.
Topics stack it up. Giglio's roll back it up. Well, I know what we'll do. A lightning round.
Now, speaking of topics that get the people going, I find this hilarious that it's even a thing, but it's a thing, and that's the world we live in. The Yankees.
We got two bits of Yankee news.
The Yankees announced on Friday that they are amending a long-standing rule that required players to be clean-shaven. I guess this I've heard
no beards. You could have a mustache, but no beard.
I had forgotten about this, and then when I saw the headline, I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. Because wasn't it like Giambi who came over from the A's and he had a beard, and then he had
Johnny Damon,
right? They had to shave it. I heard Damon had the beard because he was a goon, in Boston or whatever they called themselves when they were on their run or whatever. And I'm like, okay, now this has led to a bunch of photoshops of like, here's what Babe Ruth would look like with a beard. And Babe Ruth looked like a guy who's going to serve you the juiciest hazy IPA you've ever seen, right? Derek Jeter with a beard looked kind of weird, that kind of stuff. So I had forgot about this, but sure enough, hyperbole rules the day. And Michael Kay during spring training said, quote, a change in policy that I don't think it's hyperbole kind of stunned the baseball world. It's a seismic change. So you get to have longer hair and a beard in 2025 in New York, where people wear Carhartt beanies on top of their head to show you all that flow. Have you ever been to Brooklyn? Like come on. A seismic change? Am I belittling this? Is this a big deal that I'm just kind of dismissing? Who cares? It's 2025. Everybody's got facial hair.
Yeah, it was the 70s when Steinbrenner took ownership of the team, and it was the dirty hippies, and you were going to clean up, and we were going to be this, we were going to be that.
Okay.
How it's stood since his death. I mean, he's been gone since what?
Yeah, it's been a hot minute.
10, 20.
It's been a hot minute, man.
It's okay. Even more upsetting though. I'm okay. I guess I'm okay. I don't have a big opinion about the facial hair. They're no longer going to play New York.
Yeah.
Unless they win.
Yeah, I saw that.
So if they lose, they're not. Like, come on, man.
We're over. This is a.
Hey, man, say what you want about the Tar Heels and Tar Heel for life and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
They play that stupid roll out the barrel song, whether they win or lose, and they stand out there and they respect it. So
I tell you what, sometimes I wonder, are we just a society, in decline because we're just so bored that we have to start changing things for the sake of changing them, right? And yes, not playing New York, only after wins just tells me, is there somebody in the back room that has nothing to do?
it was a big week for that person. All right, guys.
Here's what we're gonna do, guys.
We lost Soto, but hey, facial hair. Okay, let's do it.
Let's change it up.
Next thing you know, there'll be names on the jerseys and all this other stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I guess this is why consultants get paid. Speaking of Carolina, we're talking blue bloods. There used to be a blue blood called Indiana. You might remember them. Remember those guys?
Vaguely.
Kind of, sort of. So Matt Painter at Purdue.
This is some kind of. I enjoyed this.
Well, they took out Indiana over the weekend. No? Did they lose to Indiana? Okay. Like, look, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm not really keeping up with Indiana basketball, other than that I know that Mike Woodson is on his way out, and we're back in the cycle again of like, who's going to return Indiana to the Bobby Knight aura, right? So Matt Painter says this after the game.
Your fan base isn't the people that tweet. A fan base is the people when you're bleeding, they support you. Like they jump in and off, they jump on and off things here way too much. Like, support your coach, man. Support your players. Don't tweet negative things about them. Like, be supportive. Like, see how that works for you. But they build them up, like, and they overdo things. Like, quit overdoing shit. Just accurately, like, talk about what's actually happened. Like, don't, like, get, like, recruits and, like, that's Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen. Then they come out here. Well, they're not Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen. They're good college players. Like, and then they build it up, and then they go, well, what's wrong? Well, they're part of it. But it's not their total fan base. It's just that everyone has a bad percentage of their fan base now because of Twitter. And then we think that's their fan base. It's not our fan base. It's not their real fan base either. And so I think that's an important piece. But it's hard for young people to hear all that and then go out and collectively play like, hey, man, we're playing for you guys, but you dog us when we lose, and then we're the best when we win. Well, we're somewhere in between, right?
Okay.
I would like to thank Matt Painter. Last week we had Forever Grateful. We've had Curse or Don't.
Yeah.
There's a new motto for this program.
Yeah.
Accurately talk about what's happening.
I like that.
I like it a lot.
Accurately talk about what's happening.
I like it a lot.
But this is a two-way street. I know that. This is a two-way street. Okay.
Can you could you just for a second here appreciate what just happened here?
Yeah.
The coach at the rival.
I know.
Is telling his rival how to treat their coaches and their. Can you imagine?
Can you imagine John Shire in Chapel Hill?
After losing to them, being like, "Hey,
put some respect on Huber's name." Couple things about this, though.
I love it.
I agree with Matt Painter in that we spend too much time putting value on social media reaction, and I've been on this kick for about 5-6 years now, that especially Twitter, of all you've been referencing, you're not spending as much time on Twitter.
Sure.
There's a reason why.
Yeah.
Because everything on Twitter sucks. And after a while, it starts to mess with your brain.
Correct.
Okay. And that rot is present in sports. So Painter is right in that if you only get your sentiment from Twitter, well, then, yeah, everything sucks. Everything's the worst. Everybody needs to be fired. Yada, yada, yada. Okay. But here's the problem with that. The schools also participate in those types of things. When they're not telling the whole story, when they decide to do things like, well, we're not going to talk to the media after a loss. Oh, okay. Or my personal favorite, your team wins, I get 5 tweets dub, huffy face emoji, like yada, yada, yada. Or like they had the tweet in the queue ready to bang on the other team they just beat. By the way, the Carolina Hurricanes, I'm looking at you when it comes to this kind of stuff, right? But when you lose, suddenly those Twitter fingers get real quiet. And it's like, oh, well, I see what's up. Talking big shit when you win, but then when you lose, like, moving on. They don't even put, there are schools that won't even put the score on social media. Come on. That speaks to a larger issue. Okay. So I'm with Painter about Indiana, but also the schools have some culpability in this, in training people online to think like this, and also reacting in ways that also make you not own it. All right. So I'm just using Painter as an avatar here. I'm not putting it on him, but schools have to think long and hard about this kind of stuff too. But yeah, man, that thought process, that thought about John Shire. Hey, you guys, you UNC fans. I'll tell you what. Please, I want that to happen now. Please.
There are many topics for lightning round today on OG.
Yeah, man, so many things to get into today. Jay Lucas, speaking of Duke, he's been with Duke with John Shire the last 3 years. Apparently, he is the top, according to Steve Wiseman over at the News and Observer, he is Miami's top target.
I saw some reporting that he's actually taking the job.
He's taking the job?
Yeah.
Tell you what, when do we start the John Shire coaching tree?
Ooh.
Does it begin?
I think so, because this wouldn't be...
it's not a Coach K thing.
This is not a Duke either.
No, this is a John Shire coaching tree.
Durham.
Okay, there's a Durham connection there. There's a Durham connection there. I don't know. I mean, how old is Jay? Is he like 30-something?
Uh-oh.
He's like a baby.
Existential obvious crisis.
Uh-oh. Hold on a second.
Well, only one of us is allowed to have an existential
Wait a
crisis.
minute. Like, I already had a hard time with John
Shire. 36.
Oh. Okay, you know what?
Baby. You don't even want to know his birth year.
Let's move on.
We've got a lot to get to. It's a lightning round.
The less said about a guy born in '88, the better. That's probably for the best. All right, a little bit of we got to catch up on some Panthers news here. All right, let's start with what happened last week. The Panthers are going to bring back Andy Dalton. Last time we discussed this, there was a debate as to whether or not they would re-sign Andy Dalton, who was set to enter free agency on March 12th. But come to find out, according to Adam Schefter at ESPN, he's got a 2-year deal, $8 million. Dalton is guaranteed $6 million at signing with a max earning potential of $10 million. Sure. I'll just say what I said last week. It seems to work.
Mm-hmm.
Dave Canales trusts Andy Dalton, clearly, as we saw last year. They seem to have a good back and forth with Bryce Young, who is the future, who came on there at the end. I would not upset the apple cart in this situation. If there's a good
Makes a lot of sense.
If there's a good quarterback situation and you trust in a backup, which I do think is an undervalued position in the NFL, then you absolutely make that deal. So not a surprise. All right. Speaking of cap space, Dane Jackson. Does that name ring a bell?
I think he went to Pitt.
Well, you don't really have to care about him anymore because on Friday, the Panthers released Dane Jackson, quarterback.
I mean, he's not dead.
He signed a 2-year, $8.5 million deal in March. It's going to open up $3.35 million in salary cap space, according to Mike Kay over at the Charlotte Observer. You combine that with today's news that the Carolina Panthers are moving on from Shaq Thompson. It's going to free up $3.3 million in salary cap space. So as of today, the Carolina Panthers will be messing around with about $25 million in cap space so far. But Shaq Thompson no longer with the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers said on Monday, this is from Mike Kay at the Charlotte Observer, they informed Thompson that he will enter free agency and the team is moving in another direction. Thompson, 30, first-round draft pick back in 2015, longest tenured defensive player, but as we know, it's been one that has been filled with some injuries.
Yeah, and they hit with Trevin Wallace in last year's draft, so that's This is a good thing.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one. And again, cap space as this team needs to make over on a lot of aspects, including on the defensive side. And I'm okay with that. If they're doing a complete defensive makeover, then I'm all in on that when it comes to the Carolina Panthers, because as we saw last year, defense really was. If you think you have something with Bryce Young and you're going to solidify him with more playmakers, cool. But that defense, man, really was the weakest spot for the Carolina Panthers last year. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is your lightning round. Big thanks to our friends at Happy and Hail. Download the app. Use our promo code. Save when you order on the app with our promo code, Joe.
The app, Happy plus Hail, makes your lunch real easy. You go in, you order, you use our promo code OG25, and you'll save 25%. Once you get to the store in North Hills or Six Forks, or Durham, you go in, orders there in a great bag. You're on your way. Great choices all around and save money. OG25.
Let's take a break. Let's take a hockey break. Brought to you by Happy and Hail.
I might add, let's take a break from the Mikko Rantanen speculation too. I feel like that's what we're going to rebrand it to. Let's take a break. Let's take a Mikko Rantanen speculation break. Does that not roll off the tongue?
There's a lot of syllables.
Yeah, there's a lot going on there. There's a lot going on. Just like there's a lot going on in this housing market. Raleigh continues to be insane. I was actually talking to a buddy of mine who was trying to get in on a house that's not too far from mine. And he's like, yep, nope. I'll let somebody else overpay for that, right? So that's kind of where we are right now. But if you're selling a house, that's great news for you. So you want to maximize the value. You don't want to take one of these guaranteed offers. Think about that. I literally just had a friend of mine say, I'll let somebody else overpay for that house. So that tells you what the market we have right now. So why would you take some sort of guaranteed offer? Makes zero sense. Maximize it with our friends at Hometown Realty, myhtr.com. You might be like, you might have a specific need. You might be like, I need a house that's close to a butcher's market because I can't get enough.
Who wouldn't?
Right? Who wouldn't? So you tell Hometown Realty, I need a house near a butcher's market.
Here are all of their locations, please,
including Wilmington.
Yes,
a beach house.
Yeah,
that's near a butcher's market. Who could ask for anything more?
What a combo! My gosh!
Oh, can you imagine taking the steak and cheeses out to the beach? Let's go. Let's go. So check out Butcher's Market. May I suggest the one on Lake Boone, where they have a really great, they make great sandwiches everywhere, but you actually have a place to sit and all that kind of stuff there at that Butcher's Market. So go check them out. And of course, while you're driving around with your steak and cheese, you might realize, oh man, my stomach was low and I just filled it up with a steak and cheese, but now my gas tank is low. So you go to Breeze Through. Go to breezethrough.com to find out more. Download the app. You can save on gas. And you might have picked up a bunch of stuff at the Butcher's Market and you're like, I want to marinate this thing. Maybe I want to have it sit for a few hours. Maybe I'm making beer brats. You can get beer in the beer cave at Breeze Through on your way back. So check them out, breezethrough.com.
Quite a transition.
I'm in my bag today.
You are. You're radioing this thing up.
I'm absolutely in my bag today.
Now, wait a second. This is Hey Joe, which means we'll probably get into some phone calls here.
Yeah.
Duke won.
Yeah.
Carolina won.
Yeah.
State won.
Yeah.
Oh, I know what the phone calls are about. I actually can guess. And I forgot to send you the clip to respond to all of this, but go ahead.
919-444-2211. Call the OG Sports phone and curse or don't.
Curse or don't. Call the OG Sports phone. It's brought to you by Nature's Relief. Check them out online. naturesreliefhempstore.com. RELEAF hempstore.com. So you think these are all going to be like state calls?
No, I know the specific complaint if they're locked in the right way. Let's see.
Okay. Well, I have not. I just took a bunch and put them in. So
there we go.
I'm not quite sure what we're going to get today. So I'll just play the first one here.
This is a 336 number from Austin, Texas to come up Frontier, but Wake Forest, how about that? Enjoyed having Steve Forrest as the coach, as you fight to even sniff the NCAA tournament, let alone the Final Four and the ACC championship. Go Pack!
Look, I love that.
Was that a Happy State?
That was a Happy State fan. Sticking it to Steve Forbes.
Whoa.
They exist.
Whoa.
They actually exist.
That was not on my bingo card.
I will say this. I do wonder, and Keats would never admit this, but I do wonder if Kevin Keats takes a special level of enjoyment beating Wake Forest and Steve Forbes, because Steve gets the benefit of the doubt all the time. All the time. All the time. I mean, I'll never forget when one radio host after a game was like, oh man, you seen what Steve is doing over there with the transfer portal and everything else? Like, is that something? And it's like, where's Keats, a man who's like done nothing but scramble and put rosters together, much like Steve Forbes, was like, are you shitting me right now? You shitting me right now?
Was it a radio host?
It was a radio host. It was a radio host who was glazing Steve Forbes at that time. All right.
Next Josh?
I said it was a radio host. That might have been Josh. From a 919.
Hey guys, I need y'all to get another NC State fan to explain to me why we're more upset and frustrated with Kevin Keats this year than we were with Dave Dorn this year and several other seasons that he's coached our football team. I don't understand. We've had way more talent on some of those football teams and done absolutely nothing with it compared to what Keats has worked with since he's been here in terms of talent. And at least we won something with him. We can't even win a bowl game with Dave Dorn or win a single out-of-conference game in September with Dorn. So anyways, bye.
Did not have that on my bingo card either.
Yeah, I mean, more defensive Kevin Keats and then putting Dave Dorn on blast. Like, can somebody explain to me why well, I don't think Dave Dorn's getting a pass.
Oh.
But I understand where the caller's coming from. Yeah, I do think the simple answer, to answer the question, the simple answer, and it's actually something that Kevin Keats referenced, is the fact that Dave Dorn, regardless of what you think, has consistently beaten Carolina.
Okay. Yes.
He's consistently beaten Carolina. It's that simple. It's that simple.
Yep.
There's a more obvious one, which we don't need to get to, but if you understand what I'm putting down, there's that. Okay. Because the one thing,
I didn't know where that was.
One thing we do spend a lot of time talking about whether or not one coach can X and O.
Yep. AAU ball. Yeah.
Yeah. I hear the AAU ball. I hear that one go up. I'm like, oh, interesting. And then it wasn't until this past year that people finally, like, really in overwhelming numbers went, can Dave X and O? Wasn't until this year that we finally got that.
Well, let's have a hate-free. Can we make it?
I don't know. Let's see. I got three more in the chamber.
Oh, boy.
Let's see what happens. 910.
Yo, Joe and Joe. The Canes fucking suck now. What the fuck happened? Old Tulski comes in, all big and bad, analytical motherfucker. Makes a big time trade. Whoop-de-whoop. We just gave away the best player, one of the best players in the NHL for some fucking bum. I mean, seriously. What is going on? Fuck this shit, man. The Canes suck ass.
There it is. I didn't have that one either. The Canes are the one that brought it. Yes. Chill on the Canes, y'all. Although I'm not going to dismiss a Pyotr Kochetkov conversation, by the way. I'm not going to dismiss that one.
Curse or don't, by the way.
Yeah, definitely curse or don't. Well, speaking of the Canes, where is it? Let me pull this up because we also get text messages. And I got this one from 919. Hey guys, hockey break. Seeing Slavin be praised during the Four Nations and ball out, and then coming back to watch him with Brent Burns and having to watch Burns make turnover after turnover is so frustrating because we have seen what a true shutdown pair is when Slavin has an actual partner. Why does Rod do this to Slavin? LOL. Can we move off Burns, please?
Oof.
The Burns discourse.
That was a thing last year in the playoffs. No doubt.
No doubt. And it's starting to show itself this year too in the regular season. And I know a lot of Canes fans are becoming frustrated with the fact that he's still on PP1, which is not ideal. Not ideal. All right. We got two more calls. Can we make it? Yeah, PP1. You heard me. You want to be a PP1, not a PP2. All right. What?
Silly portion of the program.
Good dumps.
Hey guys, it's Jason in Chapel Hill. I'm a long-time listener, first-time caller. I appreciate you all taking a break from talking about Kevin Keats to talk a little bit about UNC's late season renaissance. But I'm a little confused by the terminology you're using. You keep on talking about UNC's new lineup and you're calling it small ball. I actually think it's a bigger lineup, right? I mean, they were playing 4 guards and a center for most of the season. And now he's got Withers in there at power forward and Powell playing the 3, and especially like the biggest lineup they've had all season. And I don't know, I'm kind of wondering if the success they're having right now, says something about sort of what works under Hubert. When the team's been good under him, they've had like a good 4-man, whether it was Manic in 22 or Ingram last year. When they haven't been good, the 4-man's been bad. Nance 2 years ago, and then, Cade Tyson obviously didn't work out this year. I mean, it would be hilarious if Withers is the guy who saved UNC's season, given how UNC fans have been complaining about him for the last 2 years. But I think the lineup that they're going with right now is like much more traditional. And I think, that was kind of the problem this whole year is that Hubert was trying to, make his guard-heavy roster work, and it wasn't. So anyway, I was just confused about this small ball stuff and just wanted to make sure I was watching the same thing that you guys were. Thanks for all you guys do, and I'll hang up and listen.
It's a good point about making the one position bigger, the 3. But when we think of small ball traditionally, it's from the NBA, right? It's basically when they took the 5 out of the game. And you went with 2 forwards and 3 guards, basically, is what you're doing. And with Withers and Van Allen Lubin, Withers is 6'9", Van Allen Lubin's 6'8". They only have 1 5 on the whole roster.
Yes.
Washington. So they took their 5 off. But to the caller's point, you're getting bigger at the 3. That's good. And also, there is something to, why does Hubert's style seem to favor, and why does it hinge on the success of that position, right? When Roy had retired, a lot of people were like, well, thank God. Not a lot. There was a vocal minority who said, we need to change with college basketball and get away from 2 bigs and go to 1 big and play a certain style. And I do think Hubert believed that because he did change. They haven't used 2 bigs. So, but the way I look at Van Allen Lubin and Withers, I don't look at them as a big at all. I look at them as just, smaller force, to be honest.
I see what you're saying.
So you're taking the 5 off, and are we going to confuse Jalen Withers with Tyler Hansbrough on the way that they play? No. And even Tyler was a 4. They always had a 5 behind Tyler. That was always Roy's strength. So I understand what he's saying, but traditionally, when you take a 5 off the floor, that's when you're going quote unquote small ball. The Warriors get a lot of credit for that with playing Draymond Green at the 5.
All right, the final voicemail. Can we make it?
Hey, Joe's Cal here. So many times, it's not been great during basketball season for the guys, for NC State, but, it was a good weekend. The guys looked really, really good. Paul McNeil Jr. had a phenomenal game. And then we all got to go to Reynolds today and watch our girls beat number 1 Notre Dame. So as many times as we want to complain and, are we going to fire Keats? Are we not going to fire Keats? Let's just all exhale and take a deep breath. And you know what? It was a good weekend. Both the boys and the girls won, and it was a whole lot of fun. So I'm going to enjoy it for the next few days. Thanks. Y'all have a good one.
What do we do with these?
Wow.
I don't
really. And one angry person, and it was a Canes fan.
Canes call. What do we do with these? I don't understand.
Amazing.
Can we keep it going?
No.
Nah. Would you give get like a 1 day reprieve?
To your point, when you've lost people is when they don't call in and get a little bit angry.
Right.
And the sentiment I saw on my text chats and the socials, Twitter, was, Paul McNeil finally had a game. Where's he been all year?
I know. That's always a classic
This is
thing.
Keats. And in the post game, Keats said he got here, and guess what? He was a freshman, kind of like most people here. and enjoyed himself and wasn't in shape and didn't understand how to play defense and thought he was in college. And I had to say to him, are you going out every night? What are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that's what most people do their freshman year.
Not everybody's Ilya Evtimov, okay?
Not everybody's Cooper Flag.
Yeah. Not everybody can party and rally, and not everybody's Cooper Flag.
I expected more of like, oh, see, Keith screwed it up again. Should have been playing Ball McNeil this whole time. That's what I was expecting out of them. Obviously, Steve didn't want to call in. He was not feeling great.
Can we? I brought up Evtimov, and people might not get the reference, but he was a legendary partier. Is that something can we connect with Ilya Evtimov?
Yeah, we can find Shush.
Can we find him and be like, hey man, can we talk about the time that you had like your own limo to take around? I heard about that back in the day. Is that real? Anyway, that's gonna wrap it up today's show. We will see y'all tomorrow.